X on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
Welcome into the Feels Like 99 podcast, the home of your 9-7 Tennessee Titans. I am your host, Drake Kizer, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Caleb Waters.
Episode 8. Finally, the most anticipated episode. I know Drake's been excited. I know I have. The Marcus Mariota episode. And we are joined today by recurring guest Andrew Waters, also a host of The Neutral Zone, and a lifelong friend of ours, Jim Loos. He says he's not talking, but we'll see how that ends up.
Yeah, he's probably going to be on here before it's over. So.
He doesn't know yet, but he will.
He is in the studio, so.
We are currently in Steve in their studio for our second live show.
We even have the number 9 on the wall.
So, I think our biggest topic this week is the Titans' win over the Jaguars. There was a lot going on all around in the local media talking about how some fans were really worried about how if the Titans won this game, then Mike Mularkey was not going to be fired. And if we lost this game, then the sentiment was that Mike Mularkey was going to be immediately dismissed after the game.
You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
So what did you guys think about this kind of discussion? What was you guys' opinion on it and just everything like that?
Well, I agree. I mean, if they had lost the game, he definitely should have been fired. I would hope that they would do it like the Raiders did Jack Del Rio and fire him seconds after the game ended. But I think even if we lose this first game, or maybe even if we win it, they still might fire him. And now, probably rightfully so. I mean, you guys saw how well Marcus played. It's almost like they knew. Like they might have been told, like this might be his last game.
Well, that was my thing, too. In the tunnel, you could tell after the game, they had all those videos, man, they were all over him. And that's the weirdest thing about it is, like, I don't know about the coordinators or the other coaches or whatever, but, man, they love Mike Mularkey. Like, they really, really do.
I don't understand. I mean, he's not – obviously, it's kind of like the same thing from playing for, like, a high school coach. You don't really see – you kind of see the outside, but you don't see, like, inside the locker room. That's what nobody sees is what – I guess what the players like, but – I mean, if the players like him and he's coaching well, I think we should keep him. But even if the players like him, it may not be the popular decision to fire him, but they maybe should still do it.
Well, I agree with you. It may not be the most popular decision with the players, but sometimes it's not just about what the players want. I mean, sometimes it is a business. It's a results-based business. And at this point, we've been 9-7 in his first 2 seasons here. So I don't know. Of coaches hired when he was hired, he really does have one of the better records. And the way we play really is just – it's not a lot of fun to watch. Our offense is really stagnant. But honestly, if I was ownership at this point after this, making the playoffs this season, I might almost be inclined to suggest to him, hey, maybe we could make just a few staff changes, maybe get a new offensive coordinator, maybe shuffle around some responsibility or something, just something like that, because I really don't think that he's going to get fired unless we just really got embarrassed in Kansas City.
Which could happen. I mean, you never know. But going back on what you said, apparently there were several reports and quotes from players, and I think maybe Mularkey said himself that he took over play calling in the late portion of the Indianapolis game late in the season. So I really think that Robisky could be the problem. The defense played really well Sunday, as they have really all year, other than they got pretty diced up by Jimmy G. But
who has been fantastic.
Yeah, he
absolutely
beat
fantastic.
Out of the Rams.
Dude, that was insane. What did we think about that, man? That's insane.
Well, how many players were the Rams resting?
The NFL is a conspiracy. That's what it is.
They just want the 49ers to be good again after the Jim Harbaugh that screwed them, Now they want them to be good again.
Yeah, it's like that. What is that? Jim Tomsula?
That was like Mike Munchak Part 2, man. The most unqualified.
His name is Jim Tomsula.
Andrew, would you want an offensive line coach to be your head coach?
Well, I feel like As an offensive lineman, you usually have a pretty good grip on the whole offense. Usually, you know the most other than the quarterback, so an offensive line coach is going to have a good grip on everything.
I think that is why a lot of offensive line coaches actually do rise up in the ranks sometimes because, like you said, even though they don't necessarily coach other positions on offense, they have to have a good grip on the rest of the playbook because it really does all start up front. And so if you work from the front, back and across the line of the quarterbacks and the receivers and everything, then they have a good understanding of that too. But like we have been saying, sometimes it's hard for those guys to transition on the defensive side because they have absolutely no knowledge of the D line or DBs or anything like that. So, that's always hard. I think that was part of Munchak's problem too. So
Munchak had no control at all, I didn't think.
Well, he was just very mild-mannered. I feel like he was just, I don't know. I feel like he didn't really give out a strong reaction or anything.
I don't know. I think John Robinson is kind of going to implement the Patriots way of doing things here. I think he already had his guy in Josh McDaniels from New England, I think. So this is kind of off topic, but if you guys had a choice, if Amy Adams and John Robinson came to you and they said, who do you want? Do you want to keep Mike Mularkey? Do you want to keep the staff? Or do you want to make an entirely new change? Who is your coach and why?
Well, if we're going based off what the players want, I think right now they would rather keep Coach Mularkey, which I don't think is necessarily the best thing. But if we're going based off just their needs and wants and everything like that, then that's going to be the most popular decision for the players. But if we're going from an ownership standpoint, I think, like I said previously, maybe we could keep Coach Mularkey and just make a few other staff changes. Maybe keep some guys that we are good with, maybe like the Russ Grimm and obviously guys like that. But I think Terry Robisky kind of should be the scapegoat, and kind of Mularkey's already put him out as that because, like you were saying, that he was taking over play calling and stuff like that. So if I had my own personal choice of who I'd want to be the head coach, just based on the relationship with our general manager, John Robinson, I probably would say Josh McDaniels, just because I feel like where he hasn't taken a job in so many years when he's had so many chances, I feel like he's waiting for that Belichick type opportunity, you know what I mean, where he can work very closely with a GM or almost kind of be the GM, like really make a lot of player personnel decisions. So I think his previous relationship with John Robinson, they would make a great duo, and I think maybe they could bring a lot even more success than just 9-7.
Yeah, I kind of agree with some of what he was saying. I'm fine with keeping everybody except for Terry Robisky because we all saw how god-awful the offense could be at times this year. Get a competent offensive coordinator in there like a Scott Frost.
I would have to say, this is going to kind of come out of nowhere, but my dad is actually the first one to point this out to me. Excuse me. I would pick, he's a college coach right now.
Butch Jones.
He is not Butch Jones. He's a coach in Florida.
But not the University of Florida.
Not the University of Florida.
Jimbo Fisher.
No, not Jimbo.
He's no longer a coach in Florida.
Right.
I'm picking Lane Kiffin from Florida Atlantic. Think about the things he could do with Marcus and Derrick Henry, and he could make Corey Davis like a Heisman candidate in the NFL. I definitely think Lane Kiffin would be a really good choice. I think he's matured 20 years from his time from Tennessee to USC, then to Alabama, and then now taking a huge pay cut to go coach in like the mid-major team. But I think he can do a lot of good things. I don't think he'll get a look, obviously.
Well, I don't think he'd get a look in the NFL because after the whole deal with the Raiders and everything like that, I think that soured him with a lot of owners and everything. I don't think he'd probably get another NFL look. But
speaking of the Raiders, the groomers are back.
Yeah, groomers are back in full effect. What do we think about John Gruden potentially? I mean, this all still has the chance to end up like the Tennessee situation. But what do we think about him potentially going into the AFC West and leading the Raiders?
He's come out and said that he hopes he's the candidate, which I think is insane. Like, does his contract expire Saturday?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So my first question to him would be, why go back to a place where you've been fired? I mean, they're talking about him being connected to Tampa Bay and now back to Oakland. Why would he take either of those jobs?
I don't understand why he'd ever coach again anyway. Like, he's got the best gig in the world, and honestly, exactly. It really is all about him, though.
They made him the lead guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is.
What, Tirico?
Yeah, after Tirico was gone, he basically became the John Gruden show.
Okay, but if John Gruden does leave Monday Night Football, I don't really care where he goes. I vote that they should bring in one Peyton Manning as his replacement.
That's something we should definitely talk about. Who do we think are some good candidates to maybe replace him on Monday Night Football in the booth?
Tony Romo.
That would be – he really did impress a lot of people, and I don't think CBS is going to let him go anywhere, especially because they literally put him on the front line, like, #1 announce crew year one. So
he did, like, if he was calling, like, a CBS game, like, that I had no interest in, if it was, like, Miami versus San Diego, and he was calling it, I'd watch it just because I think he's that good. He brings a view to the booth that not a lot of people have.
Yeah, it really shows what knowledge a quarterback really has of an offense because he's a magic 8-ball out there.
well, yeah, he literally will predict the play. Like they'll be lined up pre-play, and he's like, "All right, it's going to be the run to the right here, or they're going to 81 or whatever." Like he sees it all, and he's always right. So it's just crazy.
He said the gave me $20 just to run to the left, and he would have had my $20. So
yeah, he really is. He's really impressive. But something that was also very impressive this week was the Titans' victory over the Jaguars. Probably our biggest topic this entire week. It was very ugly. I didn't know that the Titans were going to be able to pull it out at the very end after the fumble return for the touchdown on the absolutely terrible Marcus and Derrick Henry botched. I don't even know what you want to call it, running into each other. That was absolutely terrible, and I thought that honestly the game was going to spiral out of control right there. But we laid it all out on the line. We were able to get it out with a victory and skate into the playoffs. So, what did we think of that game?
a lot of good and a lot of bad. They had an opportunity to win the game by 30 if they score touchdowns instead of kicking field goals. And then if they don't let that, I don't even know what to call that play. But
A pee-wee mistake.
Oh, it's terrible. Like
as soon as it happened, I knew they were going to score a touchdown.
And that's the thing, too. Like, in both of your opinion, what happened on that play? Who was at fault? Who did what? Because Mike Mularkey said that Derrick Henry was at fault. Derrick Henry said that he was at fault. But, of course, Marcus, always humble, always taking the blame. He said it was his fault. So, honestly, what do we think happened on that play?
Quarterback's always right.
That's what I told my dad as soon as it happened.
No matter what happens, he's always right. It's like getting in an argument with your significant other. They are always right. No matter what it is.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to take the blame on it.
Yeah. Even if they know they're wrong, they're still right.
And also, one thing about that play is it went as bad as it possibly could have gone. Like it could have just hit Henry in the stomach, fall to the ground, but no, it shoots straight up in the air, takes a bounce right to the Jags, take it to the house. So I mean, it went from bad to worse very quickly.
I thought, like Drake said, I thought the game was over. We were still up 5. I thought it was over. I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah. I thought we were going to get the ball back after that, like on the kickoff or whatever, and like just totally botch that too, like drop it or just something crazy.
Well, Caleb and I were actually in attendance in the freezing cold at that game, and if they would have blown it, it might have ruined my whole 2018.
I'm not sure I would have gone back to Nissan Stadium if they lose that game ever.
Did we note that after this victory that the Titans have won 10 out of the last 12 at Nissan Stadium?
It's pretty insane. I mean, they lose to the Rams.
Yep, lost to the Rams.
And then the Raiders beginning the season.
Yep, Raiders to begin the season. So they've not lost another home game.
Right. I think they should have won the Rams game.
Mm-hmm.
They probably could have won that Raiders game, but at the time that Raiders loss wasn't bad.
I don't think anybody knew at that point what was going to happen. I mean, that was Marshawn Lynch's first game out of retirement. He played really well, and I just don't think that anybody could have predicted that they were going to slide the way they did.
I mean, people were saying like that they were Super Bowl contenders.
Oh yeah,
and that we were like big playoff.
Yeah, they were like top 5 in the odds for Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, like definite division winners. Like as much of a favorite as we were to win the South, they were that much of a favorite to win the West.
They were probably a bigger case because I mean Kansas City
probably was going to be a wild card team.
Kansas City's down, Denver's down.
Denver is way
yes, and the Chargers I think overachieved a little bit.
That's true.
I'm glad they didn't make the playoffs like we said on the first time last. So
yeah, I don't like Phillip Rivers, especially because he's beaten the Titans in the playoffs and regular season so many times. We've gotten a leg up on them like once in the past like decade since he's been there. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of old Phil Rivers. So
I'm definitely not. He's a temper tantrum throwing baby.
Oh yeah,
he always will be.
One thing that I wanted to mention was that play with Derrick Henry and Marcus Mariota, man, that looked like something off of Madden. Like, it looked like one of those, like the glitch, like the ball just goes up across the field or something. Like, it was just ridiculous.
It looks like the play we had the other night, but luckily the ball shot out of bounds for me.
Yes. Arcade mode on Madden is highly recommended.
It looked like an arcade mode play.
So speaking of that play, you both know my opinion on Jalen Ramsey. Andrew is rolling his eyes.
I'm rolling my eyes right now.
Yeah.
I can't see it, but.
So after that play, Jalen Ramsey and Derrick Henry were sprinting down the field to like tackle whoever got the ball. I don't remember who it was.
It was one of their D linemen, I think.
Yeah, dude's in the end zone.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey just shoves the mess out of Derrick Henry. Like it probably could have been a personal foul.
I didn't even see it.
Like not a lot of people have.
Was it on the TV angle or was this like fan view?
Probably fan view, but I'm sure you can find it. He shoved Derrick Henry, and you know how big Derrick Henry is. You got to take a lot of force to shove him. And then he has the balls to go over to the stands and get into a shouting match with the people in the first row.
Oh, man. And see, the thing that kills me about him, too, is that he's such, like, the Nashville guy. Like, he said on his pre-draft, like, visit here and everything, he loved the city, loved the town, like, wanted to be a Titan. But basically, as soon as we didn't take him, he flipped a switch and was like, hates the Titans, hates everything about Nashville and our city and everything. Man, I don't know. I mean, he's a good player, but like we've mentioned him before, man, I just don't need to hear you talk all the time. That's my thing about him.
If you're a huge fan.
I did not think the hit was dirty, but I did think it was unnecessary.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it was after the play, it was a shove. It wasn't like a dive in the knee.
The whole walking to the stands thing was just, I don't know what to say about it.
I'm tired of it happening. Like, the fans get in and they pay. Yes, some things are uncalled for that they yell. But you as a player, dude, you're out there making millions of dollars. Don't listen to it.
But I know Golden is not making millions of dollars from Tennessee. But
Well,
you seem to love the double middle finger.
Well, that's totally different.
That's a college rivalry.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, fair enough.
A little bit of emotion
just
there.
because Jalen Ramsey's sad because we didn't draft him doesn't mean he has to yell at people in the stands. You don't know him.
Oh, sorry.
We don't know you personally. You don't know us. Why are you yelling at us? Like,
Leave us alone.
yeah, we don't give a rip who you play for. Why are you? You lost twice, and he took a cheap shot on Derrick Henry the first game of the year too. I don't think that.
I do remember that one. But one thing that we have to mention, the Titans only lost one division game this entire season. It was to the Deshaun Watson Texans. The rest of our season with the Colts and the Jaguars, we swept both of those series. This is literally the most games that we've won in the AFC South since it became the AFC South, other than 1 year where we didn't lose a whole game. We swept.
Why didn't we win the division? Have the best? Do we have the best division record?
Yeah, but it goes by overall.
Yeah, it does. See, same thing. I thought that in the NFL it went more on division record for based on just division winner type of standings, but it doesn't.
It seems like it's like that in every other league, like college football,
Yeah.
MLB. But
Then get rid of the AFC South.
That's what I, like. Me and my dad had a huge argument over this because we was coming down to the wire with the Jags and Titans, and people kept losing and stuff. Like, who's going to win the South? And I was like, we have the better division record. He's like, that doesn't matter. Like, they have the better overall. I'm like, then why do we have divisions then?
Exactly.
Like, what's the point?
That's like the SEC. What's the SEC East? Georgia won the SEC East. Auburn won
by
the
a
West.
landslide.
Yep.
Yes. In previous years, like in 2014, a lot of times the best two teams don't play in the conference championship.
Because it's just based on the conference record.
Right. So here's what needs to happen. Either the NFL needs to get rid of the divisions, go by the record, or college just needs to take the top two teams from each conference. And it's the same way in the Big Ten as it is the SEC. The Big Ten has like Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, all in one division. So it's like, and I'm a Tennessee fan. I'm sitting here. We have the easier division in the SEC, but I think it should be the top two teams. It just makes no sense why there's any divisions.
Well, see, to me, it should kind of be like the NBA playoffs. Like, they have divisions, but at the end of the day, it's still seeded by best teams in the conference. Divisions, to me, should only be for scheduling purposes because it is easier with only 16 games to have basically an easy amount of games already based in your schedule that's constant, and you don't have to determine home and away or based on previous record and things like that. But as far as for playoffs, that stuff shouldn't matter, man. It should be the top 5, 6, however many teams in each conference that get in, wild cards, whatever, and that's it. Divisions shouldn't matter.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous.
It's like you said, it doesn't matter. So why is it a thing? Like, that could just be your, like, protected games.
Yeah, basically like how Kentucky and Tennessee play every year in college football or in basketball or things like that. Like, just have protected rivalries. Like, okay, the Titans will always play the Colts, but like, I think that some other games that we don't always play should go back to being constant games. I think Titans and Steelers should play every year.
I love Titans and Steelers.
That's a big game. And that used to be like talking about division and AFC Central and everything. Like, that used to be big game. And now we play like just once every couple of years.
I don't remember last time we had them at home.
That Monday Night Football game with Mettenberger.
I'm sure I didn't watch that one.
Yeah, that was complete garbage, but
I'm assuming we lost that game.
Yes. It was actually relatively close. I thought we were going to get absolutely destroyed, but we didn't.
I will say the one division loss for the Titans this year, coming at the hands of Deshaun Watson, should have counted for 4 division losses because it was absolutely terrible.
And if he is healthy this entire season, I don't think us or the Jags, either one, are in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I really don't think either of us are in the
It just has
playoffs.
to show how valuable a quarterback is. Hopefully, Deshaun Watson isn't one of those injury-riddled guys because he's special.
I feel like this was the Titans' year. If they were going to win the division, it should have been this one.
I think the window might be closed.
Well, because they were talking about it today on NFL Live. Like, I just don't think that the Colts' job is as glamorous as people are making it out to be, because I really don't think Andrew Luck's ever going to be the same again. And the Jaguars and Titans, I think, are both, I wouldn't necessarily say like trending upward, but they are where they're at right now. I don't think they're trending down. I don't really know, unless a few things change, that we're trending upwards. But the Colts, to me, they're not a good team. Jacoby Brissett was not that bad in New England, and he looked like just absolutely terrible with the Colts this season. So I don't know if he's got to play an extended amount of time next season too. They might be having to look in the draft for another quarterback, because I just don't think Andrew Luck's ever going to play at that level again.
Well, even when he was great, the Colts weren't that great.
No.
Like when he was having it, the Colts fans, if you ask any of them, they'll say they've been wasting his prime years, and they might have already wasted them because they might be over.
They're saying that potentially he might have to have another surgery, and he's still not even recovered from this whatever one that he had recently. He got his crazy owner coming out and saying that the injuries are all in his head and everything else. It's wild.
I think that's kind of an insane comment for him to make. I don't think he should ever say anything about that, especially a quarterback.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think is Irsay still the owner?
Yeah.
The NFL needs to make him sell the team, and I think the Browns need to get a new owner. And I think the Panthers are going to get a new owner.
Yep, they are. They're being forced to. Well, he's selling the team. It's kind of like the Sterling Clippers thing. Like he's just.
That was awful.
Yeah, it's basically the same scenario again. So, speaking of crazy comments made in the media today, this one wasn't actually in relation to this Jags game that we just played, but they were just asking Jero Casey about Blake Bortles in general, and they asked him about just playoffs and different scenarios and stuff like that. And he said, if it comes down to it and he has the ball in his hands, then he's going to blow it. Talking about Blake Bortles. So this was something that I really, really have noticed in the past couple of years. Like the Jaguars and the Titans, it's almost like the late 90s again. Like this is a real rivalry. Like it is heated. It's intense. The players really don't like each other. I feel like Bortles and Mariota are two like great young players that this could be a great rivalry to watch for the next few years. So have you guys noticed kind of like an uptick in these games in the past couple of years since they've both been in the league?
I mean, they've both been terrible at the same time, and they've both been pretty good at the same time. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be a rivalry.
I'm liking what I see out of both these teams here. I love the fight between each other. One thing I would have really enjoyed, I'm happy the Bills got in and everything, but I really would have enjoyed seeing the Titans go to Jacksonville and play them back-to-back weeks. There sure would have been some scrap in there.
Did you guys see that after the game that a few players actually got into a little bit of a scuffle, and they were actually caught it on the TV cameras, and it was broken up pretty quickly, but you really can. You can just tell that these guys genuinely do not like each other.
The Titans would have beat them a third time. I definitely think. And the Titans play better in warm weather anyways. So
that's true.
The Titans also play better at home.
But they beat the goofy out of the Jags.
In Jacksonville, even worse.
By 3 touchdowns.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I think the Jaguars are playing way over their heads.
I think their window is closed, more so than ours, because Blake Bortles has shown what he is throughout his first few seasons in the NFL, and I think down the stretch in these last few games that they've lost, I think he's again shown what he is. I mean, same thing, 2 picks on the game on Sunday. That's been his
They
whole.
were 2 awful picks.
Oh yeah, and I mean the last one, you're just trying to heave it deep. We know you're throwing. I mean, we're in like man up 3 deep coverage. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That first one, that was not one that he was like just lucked into or something. Like that was just a terrible throw, and I don't know. It shows me that he still is what he is. He's played pretty well this season, but
I think he's reached the ceiling.
Yeah,
I don't think they ever should have taken him.
I don't know.
I don't know the other quarterbacks that were in the draft, though.
Who else was in the class with him?
Let's see.
Yeah, it's a 2014 NFL
2014.
2014.
Number 1.
Derek Carr, Teddy Bridgewater.
Jimmy G was in that draft.
Jury's still kind of out on that one, though.
AJ McCarron.
Tom Savage. Garrett Gilbert. David Bales.
Johnny. Zach
Mettenberger. Taj Boyd.
So, as we can tell, there were quite a few other quarterbacks in that draft. And, I mean, Bortles has probably had as much, if not more, success than pretty much any of those guys. I mean, Derek Carr has kind of had a rocky road. Like we already talked about, the Raiders really slipped this year. Teddy Bridgewater, with his catastrophic injury, wasn't having just a fantastic career even before that. I mean, he was kind of a rising guy, but he was definitely not like a rising star. I mean, Mettenberger, Manziel, guys like that are already out of the league. So
Giant football's coming back.
Hopefully CFL up. But probably the most important takeaway, and some people are calling this a play that will go down in Titans history as one of those, maybe like the Vince Young drive against the Cardinals or Music City Miracle, or just other plays that we really remember as like kind of cornerstones of the franchise. The Marcus Mariota stiff arm.
Mariota takes the snap. Looking, stepping up, he can run this thing. Instead, he'll pull it back. He'll sneak around the edge to the 45, stiff arm 50, 45 and down! My goodness, the young maestro is special! What heart, what courage! As he's actually giving it back to the Jags a little bit with a stiff arm, saying, I'm not going to quit, I'm going to the postseason. 2 minutes remaining. High drama at Nissan Stadium.
At the very end of this game, a crucial third down, the Titans needed it so bad to be able to drain some more clock, make the Jaguars call some more timeouts, and just really kind of secure the victory with about 2 minutes left in the game. It was absolutely vicious. It was insane. There's not enough adjectives to accurately describe how important it was to Mariota's just overall development. I think he showed confidence. I mean, this man got up after he was done and went and talked some trash. I mean, Mariota never shows any type of emotion like that. Like, this was massive.
It really was. And like some of the players call him a silent assassin.
That's a great one. That's a nickname.
Delaney Walker said that.
I mean, he got up and looked at the Titans sideline.
And then got up and followed Church over there.
I'll just say he had a helicopter right there. And it was unreal. Andrew, me, we were all going nuts.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine. Were y'all on that side? Like, were they coming that way?
They were coming toward us. Yeah. And as soon as he did it, it was...
God, like, the call on TV and obviously on the radio with Mike Keith, man, everybody was just going crazy. The stadium was going crazy. I know me and my dad, we were watching it on the couch, man. It was just insane, like, because he really does. He drops back, and it looks like he's not going to get sacked or anything, but it just looks like – I mean, yeah, if it was a statue quarterback, he's getting sacked. But he kind of comes across and kind of does his little slide shuffle in the pocket, and it looks like Calais Campbell's going to get to him and basically get him down for like a loss if he just kind of goes down. But he kind of does this sidestep move and comes to the sideline and just takes off. He ran all over the field against the Jaguars. It literally was the best running performance that I've seen from him since he broke his leg. And that's another thing that's so important for his confidence standpoint. If he can start running like that again and not be running, I don't want to say that he's ran scared this season, but
the coaches have told him you better not run.
Oh yeah, and his slide just looks terrible. He's got that RG3 slide.
As long as he gets down, I don't care.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
that stiff arm, that might be his turning point.
That play showed the competitor in him, and it showed the winner in him. And that single play made my toes going numb worth it.
That right there looked like a franchise quarterback. That looked like Steve McNair, like really like going out there like Iron Man. It was so important. I really think kind of like these other defining plays and drives and stuff like that in Titans history, this could be the one that like knocks down the door for Marcus Mariota. This could be like the time that we mark down as like, this is when he became the guy. Like he put himself in the playoffs. And I mean, this could be, we don't know what's going to happen in these playoffs. I mean, we could go up to Kansas City and absolutely get wiped off the field. Mike Mularkey gets fired and everything like that. I mean, I saw Brian Arakpo say that. He's like, when it starts off, everybody's 0-0. Mm-hmm. Like, who knows what could happen?
People always say it might come down to one play. One play might define the game. And a lot of times it doesn't happen. But he decided right then and there that he wasn't going to go down. He wasn't going to lose. I think, like you said, it might knock the door down. That shows that he's got his confidence back that he didn't have all year.
Oh, yeah.
He really didn't have it all year. And he can tell when he throws it. But now that he's got it back, I mean, and even in his press conference today after practice, he was like, I was just playing the game.
Oh, yeah. He's so cool, man. Like, he's calm, collected.
His swag's back. He's going off.
We finally saw Heisman Marcus.
Oh, yeah. Man. Finally. Have you guys seen that the meme that the Titans posted with the Heisman Trophy and then like the upgrade keyboard thing, and then it's that picture of him with the stiff arm out, and he's like perfectly Heisman posed too. Like that is perfect. Like got the hand on the palm like fully extended too, and everything. it was just insane. Like when you see quarterbacks and other position guys like try to break out the stiff arm, and normally it doesn't work. Like, they'll kind of put it out there and they don't really catch anything on it. But Derrick Henry has a really good one, but that one that Mariota broke out
that was a running back.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't only like just sometimes they'll do the stiff arm and kind of like hold on to the helmet, and they'll kind of get dragged down too because the defender will like grab their hand and their arm and stuff. He stiff armed and
gave him the punch.
Oh yeah, he punched and he was on the ground and gone. Like he kept going.
Yeah, he probably could have scored a touchdown.
He didn't break stride. He did that stiff arm and just punched away and didn't break stride. Man,
It's like muscle memory.
I just looked at a picture of the stiff arm from the TV broadcast. His thumb was up under his face mask, probably touching his forehead, pushing him off.
They asked him after the game at his church. He's a safety for the Jaguars, and they said, "Have you ever seen a quarterback with a stiff arm like that?" And his one-word response was, "Nah, nah, I've never seen that. I have never seen a quarterback break out a stiff arm like that."
It's brutal.
It came out of nowhere. That is finally what people in the stands during the game were yelling. He sucks.
He's a bust.
They shut up after that. They didn't say a word.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I wasn't like dogging him for running during the game, but I'm like, man, he needs to be safe. Like he needs to get down, and I don't want to see him get hurt or whatever. When you do that, man, you have everybody in the stadium and at home like jumping out of their seat. No one's worried about your injury history or about plays from yesterday or whatever. This is right here, right now, and you're like willing us to victory.
He was willing to hurt himself to win that game.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you saw too where I was talking about his ugly slide and everything else. On that play, after his beautiful stiff arm and get a few more yards, he did like the perfect baseball slide into the sideline. I mean, perfect. And that was just great execution. You couldn't ask for a better improvised play too. That wasn't one of those design runs. No, that was he dropped back to pass.
That's one of those football plays I'll look back on. I'll probably get chills.
Oh
For a
gosh.
long time.
I wish that. Well, we know Mike Keith, that he's awesome. Whatever his play-by-play on the radio, but the TV call was just not very good, and it was Gumbel too. Like he does the tournament games like basketball. The call just wasn't very good. I don't know what the deal was. He's like, he messed up the call with, what was it, Derrick Henry, too. He called him Delaney Walker. He's like, Delaney Walker down the sideline.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that's Derrick Henry. I'm like, come on. Like, you've got to know our players. I don't know.
It was a primetime game. That's the worst.
Oh, yeah, they flexed this into, like, to where everybody could see it. Like, national TV, this was the big game of the week to be able to see, playoff implications. And you give us a good announcer, supposedly, and he goes out here and he doesn't know our players. And
It's on CBS, right?
yeah, it was on
Why
CBS.
wouldn't they put Tony Romo on that? Was he calling another game?
I don't know what game he was calling. He didn't call the Bengals and Ravens game either. I don't know what game that he called this week, but he was not on our game. It was Gumbel, and I mean, he's a good announcer, does big-time games and studio and stuff for the tournament, but I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting, but a lot of guys don't know our players because they've never seen us play except when they call our game, so.
Rewatching this play here, the same stiff arm we've been talking about the last 10 minutes, Quentin Spain actually gives a huge block that almost jumps it. Originally, he's blocking the dude that Mariota kind of sidesteps, but then as Mariota starts to roll downfield, Quentin Spain just comes out of nowhere and shoves the dude like 10 yards. As an offensive lineman, I appreciate that.
See, that's the stuff that people usually don't see. There's always something else that springs the play. Like Mariota did his job, but like Andrew mentioned, without Quentin Spain doing his job and going above and beyond, those type of plays don't happen. So one other thing I wanted to mention about Mariota before we go into a little bit of Chiefs and playoffs talk. I heard some talk on the radio and on the zone the other day about how some of these interceptions that Mariota's been throwing this season, on some of these plays that they look almost just scripted. He's been staring down receivers and stuff like that. Some of the guys on there were saying that they had heard from guys around the team and the organization that on some of these throws, they're almost scripted. You know what I mean? Like, so they'll say, all right, Marcus, on this play, we're going to need you to go to the X receiver. He's going to be cutting across at the 15-yard line, like throw to him. Like he almost doesn't have another option. You know what I mean? So if they come out in the game and the X receiver is not open, he's such a team-oriented coach guy that he's not going to go against their call, even if it's not open. Same reason that we don't audible out of the plays sometimes, that they call for him. And he's throwing the ball even though it's not open, and some of those end up in picks. And, he takes the blame and he beats himself up. But I don't know. I feel like stuff like that. Mariota, he's a great guy about, putting the team first and being a player's guy and everything like that. But do we think that at a certain point, maybe like this stiff arm and stuff, he needs to get maybe just a little bit more aggressive?
He's the quarterback. They will fire Malarkey before they fire Marcus. And I think he needs to have that mentality. I mean, it's plain and simple. When we talked about it last week, and when he calls his own plays, they're almost unstoppable on offense. So they might as well not even hire a new offensive coordinator.
I mean, they drafted this guy to be a franchise quarterback. And can I ask you something? Have you ever heard of a franchise coach?
Exactly.
They'll get rid of the coach if it's not good, but
It's kind of like Doc Rivers with the LA Clippers. They wanted him to be the franchise coach. Have they even made the playoffs since he's been there?
Once or twice, and they always don't even make it out of the first
he
round.
just wanted to coach his son.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's something that the ownership realized, and I think they have. I don't think, unless we win the Super Bowl, I think Malarkey's probably gone. Because they understand that what Andrew just said. Have you ever heard of a franchise coach? No. Malarkey was nobody's pick. It was Russell Webster, I think.
Yeah.
So it's time that they put their brand on this team. And they have for the most part, especially John Robinson, bring in a huge player turnover ratio. And it's time for Amy Adams and John Robinson to say, hey, this isn't going to work. And I've heard that they're pretty angry with his development, with Marcus's development.
Well, that's the thing, too. I heard all week that the whole entire ownership group, not just Amy Adams, but the rest of the other Adams family people, they were all in town this week. And pretty much they were prepared to fire Malarkey if we lost that game. Obviously, they're glad that we didn't. They want to have playoff games and things like that. It's great for the city, great for just revenue and everything. And I've seen where the Predators are getting behind us, kind of like how the Titans got behind them in their playoff run. And stuff like that is great. I'm glad that we're in the playoffs. But like you're saying, I still don't think that us limping in excuses the rest of our offensive and defensive kind of missteps this season. And we really need to take a long, hard look in the mirror at what this team is at the end of it. And one of the things I think that we're going to really notice when we take a long, hard look at ourselves is Marcus Mariota has played down the stretch as a franchise quarterback. But like Andrew said, there's no such thing as the franchise coach. So if he's going to be aggressive like that and be calling his own plays and checking out his stuff, he should be able to go into that huddle and confidently say, if the play that they call for me isn't what should be run right here, and I go up to the line and I see they've got 8 men in the box and we're handing off up the middle, I'm getting out of it. I'm not running that play. And that's one thing I don't like about Mike Malarkey is that he blames the players. He doesn't ever say that was a bad call, that was a bad play, whatever. Every time, Derek just needs to hit the hole harder. I don't like that. I don't like that in a coach.
You have to hold yourself accountable for that kind of stuff. And that's another thing when you said he doesn't take the blame. So if he doesn't take the blame, why should they have control over the play call? Why shouldn't Marcus come out and be like, they've got to call better plays? They're not sitting there doing that, so why can he sit up there and be like, they just got to play better?
Well, that's the thing. Marcus is such a respectful guy and a guy who would never do something like that. But I feel like a lot of these other quarterbacks in the league, if their coach was throwing them under the bus constantly and their teammates and stuff like that, I think a lot of guys would get up there and be like, all right, then call better plays then, or, something like that.
Have you guys seen the clip of Aaron Rodgers on the field early in the season saying stupid effing call?
Yeah.
That's the best quarterbacks in the league do their own thing.
Patriots and McDaniels and, the whole Tom Brady and McDaniels, huge fights they do, every season on the sideline,
Yes.
shouting match. You think that Marcus Mariota has, ever even, raised his voice at Terry Robisky?
Do you think he's ever not ended a sentence with sir or Terry?
Exactly. And that man's a joke. This is Josh McDaniels that Tom Brady's talking to. I mean, it's not like he's Bill Belichick or something, but this is a league-wide respected coach, and he's cussing him. He's cussing him, and he's yelling at him and everything. I don't know. I don't want Marcus to turn into a disrespectful, mean guy or something like that. That's just not in his personality.
That's what it takes for him to be great and Ty's to be great. Maybe it should happen.
I mean, if that's what it takes for him to be great, but I think that he can be kind of like the silent assassin moniker that they've been giving him. Man, just go out there and play. I don't want to see him turn into a guy that talks or does whatever, man. Just let your play show how you feel. You know what I mean? Don't go out there and talk about it. Be about it.
That's what he did on that stiff arm. And hopefully he carries it to Kansas City this week.
And that is a great transition into our last segment of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs game this Saturday at 3:30, and also the rest of the playoffs if we happen to luck into a victory in Kansas City. So what do we think is going to happen up in KC?
Well, I've worked on SeatGeek, hopefully our next sponsor. So SeatGeek, if you're listening. Tickets are cheap, and it's not going to be cold. Tickets are going to be cheap, and I think that's all you need to see.
What is the temperature going to be? Did you see?
I think the high was like 40-something.
So it'll be warmer than it was for this Jaguars game in Nashville.
It's going to be like 80-degree weather for Kansas City.
Exactly.
I don't know.
The Chiefs' kingdom.
It's so hard to tell with this team. It's never easy to win a game. Even losing a game's hard sometimes. But if they come out and have momentum and have this everybody's 0-0, and that defense plays the way that they can, they might mess around and win the game.
Titans are going to win. Mariota's going to come out. He's going to feed off his stiff arm. He's going to feed off his whole silent assassin mojo. Terry Robisky's not going to suck. Defense is going to play.
Joke of the podcast.
Yeah.
Defense is going to play how they played against the Jags. I'm going to say they're going to roll up Kansas City and move on to who's next.
Yeah, who would be next?
Pittsburgh. It just depends on who wins the Jacksonville Buffalo game.
That would be something to see because
people. I need to say this before we continue. Kansas City lost 6 games in a row.
I know, and see that's the thing. They were resting starters, whatever. But you see, they started Mahomes in their last game, and I don't know. Like Alex Smith is one of those guys where I feel like he really did get done a little bit dirty by the 49ers. Kind of the whole. You remember in their run to the Super Bowl when he got benched in favor of Kaepernick. And at the time, it didn't look like it was the worst decision, but I think in hindsight, the 49ers wish that they would have just kept Alex Smith this entire time because he was never in a great position to win before Jim Harbaugh was there, and then they ran him out of town as soon as they got the coach that he needed to win. And Andy Reid has kind of taken full advantage of all his prime years. I don't know. I feel like last year kind of set the blueprint for what we need to do to go up to Kansas City and get the victory. And that was kind of a grinded out game too. I mean, we had to win on the last second field goal. I'm not even necessarily so sure that it won't come down to that again because I feel like they have the type of defense that plays a lot like ours. They have an offense that's a lot like ours when it's not on. Alex Smith recently has not been on. That's the thing. They have that high-powered offense that you saw the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season where they were just blowing people off the field. They're putting up 40 a game, and hopefully that's not who shows up when the Titans roll into town. But even if it is, I think that our defense can stand toe-to-toe with them. And I'm telling you, if we can mount an offensive performance that would net us even just like 17 points and we could hold them down to around that same level, I don't think there's any reason why.
We put up 16 offensive points last year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. It's going to take – do we know if DeMarco Murray is going to play or not?
Probably in our best interest that if he does, it's limited.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Derrick Henry did not necessarily make the very most of his carries last week, but I still am not sure that he doesn't give us the best chance to win this game right here. You know what I mean? Like,
did Llewellyn get any carries?
Not that I remember. I mean, you guys were there. Did you see it?
I don't think
Okay, do we think DeMarco scores on that screening play that ended up being the only touchdown of the game?
it depends.
I mean, he scored on one in the Seattle game.
That is true. That's
But is it DeMarco with the injured knee? If it's a DeMarco with the injured knee, I don't think there's a chance.
It's healthy DeMarco.
100%.
The DeMarco we've seen all year.
This season, no. I don't think so.
Last year, yes. He scores and it's not.
Okay, if we had last year DeMarco, we wouldn't be saying all this stuff about Derrick Henry.
Well, no, because if he was still playing like a top 10 Pro Bowl back like he was last year, like literally top 2 or 3 in the league in rushing, you know how much better our offense looks just by rankings, by points, and everything like that. But see, he's not been that this season, and that's why we are what we are, because we're supposed to be the exotic smash mouth with our 2 running backs that neither one got over 700 yards. That's kind of been our issue this season, don't we think?
I don't think he's been 100% all year.
No.
I'm not sure Derrick Henry has either, but
Something is the matter with him. I don't know what because he still has the big runs and stuff, but man, he just looks so bad in pass protection. Like, he's a big guy, so I'm like, why does he not know how to block? It's like he's just in the worst spots all the time.
I guess he's not a rookie anymore. He must be in a sophomore block list. Anyways, so we all say, do we say win?
Based on last year and just kind of the momentum that we're going in, we'll say that the Titans win. So what would be the scenario after that?
Well, if they go to New England, I don't think we have that great of a chance. But
Well, what would the scenarios be as far as the Jaguars game with the Bills and whoever wins?
If the Bills win, we go to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And if the Jags win, we go to New England.
Yes, because
For
we're
their
the
time.
highest, or I don't know.
The Patriots play the lowest remaining seed. The Steelers play the highest remaining seed.
So,
I like our chances in Pittsburgh better than New England.
oh yeah, I think if we play New England at New England, that's
Might as well not even go.
yeah, that's
But
like
they're not
But
just
also,
it's not just a great team. They played their starters in
we
very
saw
good
what
places.
happened playing in Pittsburgh earlier this year.
that's
Yes,
true.
but that's with
That's what-
semi-hurt Marcus.
Marcus was terrible.
and terrible play calling.
That was the beginning of his slide
Yep.
of this season. Like he's kind of back on the uptick a little bit, not throwing the picks and the turnovers and everything like that. But that was the beginning of the stretch of the season where we just completely fell out of favor, fell out of national media favor. Everybody turned on us. Anybody that said we were preseason favorites, we were just the
That's
worst
when
team in the
everyone was
NFL.
like, man, Marcus sucks.
Oh yeah, he's a bust. He's Locker all over again, Pick City, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like if we got another crack at them and we could convert a few more plays that we missed. I mean, I remember sitting there watching that game after that drive where we got the 75-yard touchdown to start the half. They go down and score, but then that was the drive where Delaney Walker drops that wide open touchdown. And it was over from there. As soon as that happened, it was like, it's done. We are through. It's over. And we were, because we let it just spiral out of control. So many interceptions, so many bad throws, no positive runs. It was just awful. But I think if we got another crack at them, things might be a little bit different.
Hell, I don't think New England is New England as they were last year.
Right.
Old England?
I'm saying they're used England.
Yeah.
The clearance England.
Off-brand England.
Yeah, it's like, you go to GameStop and they have the new and used. They've got the used tag.
Yeah.
Use Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, they're on clearance. They're not 20% off additionally to clearance. They're on clearance.
Yeah. And I don't know. What do we think about? I guess most of us would probably agree. We're thinking that the Jags are going to beat the Bills, correct? I hope not, but would we all be in agreement that they are probably going to beat the Bills?
It's probably 60-40. Jags win 60% of the time. I don't know. They might come out and beat the goofy out of Buffalo.
I mean, I would love to see that, but
You'd love to see the Jags beat the goofy out of Buffalo.
well, I want to see the Jags have to actually play a real big playoff game and see how bad that Blake Bortles can mess it up. Because I really, really think you're right. Who would they play if they beat the Bills? Then they're going. So they're going to Pittsburgh.
I wish there was a way they would go to New England.
Yeah, somehow, some way. The only way that anybody's going to New England except us is if the Bills win. Like you said earlier, we talked about this. I don't know. Like, the Bills played the Patriots really well earlier in the season, but I don't think that would happen in the playoffs.
Who knows, man?
But the playoffs really is wide open, and you never know who's going to be that team to make a run.
Look, this doesn't even sound that crazy. The Titans could win the Super Bowl, but Jacksonville could win the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I want to see
Buffalo could win the Super Bowl.
I want to see Jacksonville in that big game because they've still not played it.
I don't want to see them in it if it means we don't get to it.
Oh, I want to see us. I want to see them in a big game, but I want it to be to get to us. You know what I mean? I want us to be like the AFC Championship game or something like this. Is 1999 all over again.
I know we're cutting this segment this week, but my atrocious statement is that the Titans will host the Bills in the AFC Championship.
Redo the Music City.
Yeah,
Miracle.
this is it. They have not made it since that year. We realize that, right? The Bills have not been in the playoffs since that season.
But wait, there's more. Hang on to your seat, baby.
Speaking of the atrocious takes segment, we decided to cut that this week and introduce something. It's a special edition segment. It'll probably happen once every year, once every calendar year.
Of course.
Our New Year's resolution takes presented by Ronald's Napkins.
They clean your face.
So this segment is where we're going to do a couple of different things. We're going to say what the Titans' New Year's resolution should be, and then what our actual New Year's resolutions were, and then what our podcast New Year's resolutions were. So Drake, you want to start this off?
Sure. So for our Titans New Year's resolution, I think that in this calendar year, hopefully in January 2019, we're sitting here after having made the playoffs for the second consecutive year with Marcus Mariota having developed even further in his career, I think that his New Year's resolution for the Titans and for Marcus Mariota in general is to become that field general type of player, get a little bit more aggressive, and just be that franchise guy. Be our franchise quarterback. Bring us into a new era where you are our guy. You are our new Steve McNair kind of franchise quarterback type of dude, and just really lead us into a bright and new future.
So my Titans resolution would be for Marcus to go in the offseason and go surfing as much as he needs to. You get him back in his comfort zone, and it's like it'd be kind of like All-Star Weekend for him, going back to Hawaii and doing what he loves to do. And All-Star Weekend is when everybody gets some money, especially in the NBA. Same for baseball, I guess. But I think if he does that, the Titans are cooking.
My New Year's resolution for the Titans is
For Derrick Henry not to go to school again.
Oh, yes.
Jim, you want to do yours?
No.
You have to say something.
No.
It can be.
Wait,
You'd be stupid as hell. This is where you'd be stupid as hell. All right, hurry up and say it and get the hell out.
First to cut Harry Douglas. There you go.
That's our New Year, Titans.
My New Year's resolution for the Titans is to win 10 games in the 2018 season. My personal resolution in 2018 is to be healthier, maybe cut a little weight, and drink a lot more water.
Mine was I had several. The most relatable one for our listeners was probably I want to try and run a mile each day. I'm not in the best shape. I'm already 2 miles behind.
That might be less realistic than me losing weight.
My other one was to call my youngest brother less nicknames. For anyone that knows me, I call him anything that rhymes with his name, even if it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't even have to rhyme.
I call him.
Let's not get into it.
I'm gonna tell the listeners.
No.
Screw.
I call my brother Andrew Screw.
All right.
I call Cam Ramcon. Just about anything that he hates. Rolled. It doesn't even make any sense. Like the author of Roald Dahl. But so yeah, Drake, what was your one?
I guess my New Year's resolution would just be kind of like you said, keep exercising every day, keep the grades up. School is important. We all got to get out of school as soon as we possibly can, I guess. We got to keep those grades up so we can get out of there and get into the working world, make some big time money.
Some big baller parts.
Yeah.
Some big baller bucks. Little do our listeners know, and Drake and Andrew don't know, we have recently been sponsored by Big Baller Brands.
Okay. All right. So this is our first
Andrew,
sponsorship.
Get out of here.
Andrew has poisoned the room. That was awful. I told you. Yeah, I thought I was kidding. It's like a cloud sitting over there.
So our last New Year's resolution we want to talk about is our podcast resolutions. So I guess my one New Year's resolution for this podcast would be try and keep it on the one episode a week, every week. Like we talked about at the end of 2017, we kind of fell off for about a month or so, kind of just school and work and everything else just kind of got in the way for a little bit. But hopefully we can keep it consistent for the rest of 2018, starting with this very first week. And hopefully we can ride it out to a lot of success.
My podcast resolution is going to be to get us nicer equipment and have a nicer area to record live shows. Right now we're sitting in Steve McNair's studio, also known as my bedroom. Probably about, what do you say the dimensions of this room are? Probably like
not big, but not very big.
Yeah, so my resolution is to give us a better area to record and get us nicer equipment. Yes, it's a starting point, and yes, we just got it. But I got a gift card for Christmas, and that's what I bought the equipment with. So,
Have a very simple resolution for the podcast in 2018, and it is to get James Maddox, Jim Loos to release a statement this calendar year.
he's been sitting in here for
The entire time.
and he won't say anything.
Hey, say what up, Jim.
Come on, Jim.
We've probably caught him in the background, but we need still an official statement at some point in this calendar year. Sometime in 2018, we're going to get him.
We've got to.
And we'll get him. I know how we can get him.
He's really the silent assassin.
Yeah, exactly. He's been sitting here this whole time and hasn't said a word. I don't think any of us could sit in here the whole time and not say a word. So,
Especially with how things played out and smelled out in here.
exactly. So, I guess we're kind of winding down to a close. We've talked about all our New Year's resolutions, the Titans' fantastic victory over the Jags, the Mariota silent assassin revival, and everything like that. So, Caleb, Andrew, do you guys have anything else you want to say?
I have one final comment. At the game on Sunday, The Titans, they set out a bunch of these cardboard cutouts of just random characters and players. And there's a Taylor Lewan one, and he's saying, like, tighten up. If you are a listener and you have that cardboard cutout, I will meet you at a place of your choice and pay you money for that cardboard cutout because I really want it.
Find the Lawan cutout. Hashtag find Lawan cutout.
That needs to be the episode.
Find Lawan cutout.
Yeah, so what Andrew's just referring to, the Titans set out cardboard cutouts, and I have one from Dustin from Stranger Things sitting here in Steve in their
Just
studio.
looking at me.
It's been looking at us the whole time. It's kind of freaky.
Yeah, probably about 3 feet by 3 feet size was.
So those are just sitting out, just totally free?
Marcus.
Was there like a battle for those? Like I feel like a lot of people would have wanted those.
Yeah, you had to get in there. Did they have one gate open? That's something we should have talked about. Yeah. They had one gate open. From, like, you know how there are 4 main gates on the ends of the
Yeah,
state?
yeah.
One of the gates.
Why? For what?
Well,
for
like,
what reason?
Well, like, each of the... I walked to the stadium about 45 minutes early. Didn't sit down until, like, they're, like, damn near singing the national anthem. Like, for
We had one gate open.
Well, not for the entire stadium. For each.
You were sitting down for it?
Yeah, it took me. I guess my final...
Is that an official statement?
Yeah. Did we catch any of that? We might have caught that.
I guess my final thought, that picture of Marcus with the stiff arm will be my screensaver like Drake's for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm going to need to find the highest resolution of that I possibly can and rotate that out with the Cubs winning the World Series on my laptop background. So
Are you a Cubs fan?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, you need to prove to our listeners why you are not a Cubs fan.
Okay, so first Cubs team that I ever watched was, 2007, 2008? 2008 was the last time we made the playoffs before just a few years ago when Theo and everyone was there. I think some of my earliest memories of the Cubs were with Alfonso Soriano. And one of those very early seasons that I really got into baseball, Brian LaHare was our first baseman and he was our Cubs like all-star team member. If either of you know who Brian LaHare is, that's points for you. If any of our listeners know who Brian LaHare is, that's point for them. So that I'm going to prove my legitimacy that way.
Yeah, well, me and our silent assassin guest, Jim Loos, we made fun of Drake liking the Cubs until they won the World Series last year. But for those who don't know, Drake likes Kentucky, but only during basketball.
No, not true. Was in attendance for Music City Bowl. Heartbreaking.
We need to talk about, this will be our last thing, we've got to talk about how Benny Snell got ejected.
My official statement on that is it's garbage, it sucks, and in the words of Benny Snell, he likes to play football.
It's insane. So, Drake, do you have any last words?
Nope. I think we're good for episode 8, and it was a great one. We enjoyed having Andrew on the podcast again, and I think probably our next episode won't be live, but hopefully in the near future, whenever we're on some breaks and stuff like that, maybe we could work out to have another one live and in color. So, Andrew, you got anything else?
No, but I'm being serious about the Lawan cardboard cutout I want.
Remember,
Find Lawan.
Find Lawan cutout. Remember that. Find
Taylor
Lawan cutout.
Lawan, if you're listening, I love you.
Well, all right, guys. I guess that's all we've got. I think there's one thing we forgot to do. Drake, do you have any idea what that could be?
I think it's something about cuffing.
Andrew, do you have any idea what this cuffing madness is?
It definitely sounds like something I wouldn't want to do.
Wouldn't want to cuff ya.
You've been listening to the Feels Like 99 podcast with Drake Kizer and Caleb Waters. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Feels Like 99 Pod.
You can find the Feels Like 99 podcast on our new website, feelslike99.wordpress.com. And you can find just about everything you need there. You can find the archives of the Feels Like 99 podcast on YouTube. If you search Feels Like 99 podcast, you can subscribe by hitting the subscribe button.
You can find my co-host, Drake Kizer, on Twitter at DrakeKizer_. You can find myself on Twitter at CalebWaters_14.
Tell a friend about the Feels Like 99 podcast. Could be a friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, Titans fan, Jags fan. Could be any of them, you know. We talk about more than just the Titans. We talk about it all on the Feels Like 99 podcast. It's a podcast for everybody, guys.
So, signing off for myself and my co-host, Drake Kizer. This is Caleb.
Thanks, ugly God. Thanks, ugly God. Thanks, ugly God. Thanks, ugly God.
Actually said the episode, but I knew you were going to do that.
What? the whole time.
Whenever we ask him something, he just play the crickets. That'd be good.